We are the God Culture, a group of independent researchers with no affiliation to any denomination nor organization whatsoever. We read the Word and we test it as 1 Thessalonians 5:21 tells us, "Prove all things, hold fast that which is good." The time has come that we all understand this highly debated topic of the Sabbath, and this video is going to get right to the core of the debate. And we're going to end it, yes. We say that with confidence, by the end of this series especially. What is the origin of the Sabbath? This is one of the biggest things, the largest debates out there. They say, oh no, it originated on Mount Sinai. Did it start with Moses? Let's see. Did the Father and Son create it for man, as it says, as Messiah said in Mark 2:27? Or was he just making that up? And was it created on the seventh day, as Genesis 2 says, and Moses reaffirms, and Messiah reaffirms? Was it set apart as holy? And then all of a sudden, did Yahuwah just forget to tell Adam and all of man, all the way up until long after the flood, in the days of Moses? Was not Adam man? So if it was created for man, and Yahuwah gifted it to man, wouldn't Adam know about it? And would he not have rested in his presence, if not on the seventh day, at least in the Garden of Eden of all places, which is incorruptible and holy, in the very holy of holies of Yahuwah, and Yahuwah is keeping the Sabbath, because the Bible says he does, but Adam just didn't notice. He just didn't notice, really. So, and to say that Yahuwah was negligent in telling Adam, it just doesn't jive. Let's take this further than logic, though, and see what Scripture says about the topic, because we can. We've been looking for the one that says Adam never kept the Sabbath, because we keep seeing scholars say that, yet there's no Scripture that ever says that. We found none. We have been seeking the one that says Enoch, Noah, Abraham never kept the Sabbath. There's no such Scripture. Something out of context, perhaps, but we're going to deal with those in these two videos. What you will find is someone calling themselves a scholar and making such assumption. That's it. It's assumption. It is not fact, and it's not Scripture. Now, you know by now how we feel about such scholarship, and yes, we are, in fact, going to continue to show disgust at the practice, because it truly is. Unfortunately, I wish it wasn't. Wish I didn't have to. But we do, just as the prophets and Messiah did. The reality is, Scripture's not silent on this topic, which you've already seen from the first video. Even the trailer already throws a huge wrench into this whole narrative in the traditional sense. But it is abundant. And by the end of this video, you will know that there is only support in the Bible for Adam, to Enoch, to Noah, to Abraham, all being well aware of all 10 commandments even. Yep, don't worry, we'll show you, including the Sabbath. And these same 10 commandments continue in the law of Messiah, which they say is now replaced with 2 commandments. But you look at the 2 commandments, and they're the same as the 10. You cannot break any one of the 10 commandments and still keep the 2 commandments that Messiah simplified it down to. You can't. So there's no way to say that they are different. They are not. These patriarchs called righteous in Scripture, yet we're supposed to believe there was no measure for which to determine righteousness. Sounds silly? Well, that's because it is. We will show you Noah had a measure for righteousness, for righteous obedience, and we will show you this in the next video, as this is a 2-part video. We're going to split it into 2 because it would be too long as one. This is not to be confused with the Pharisee false Noahide laws, by the way, when we say law of Noah. And those have a whole lot of leaven added to them, in fact. I mean, ridiculously so, and very racially so. They are complete fraud. when you read them. We will compare that true, biblically recorded law of Noah with the law of creation, with the law of Moses, with the same law of Messiah, which are all the same. Yes, we'll prove that in the next video. So, he never replaced the commandments, but Messiah affirmed them. Let's get to it. Remember from the last video, remember, recollect, recall, something that is not new, but of old, right? When I say for you to remember, I'm talking about something we already discussed, and you already know or perhaps had forgotten, but was known prior, right? Yahuwah wrote this part of the word with his finger in stone tablets. Moses did not write it other than copying it. Yes, they were broken, and yes, he gave Moses another copy. So he still wrote it with his finger again. Yahuwah did, and this is the only part of the Bible so important that he wrote it with his finger, but we're supposed to forget it. When he says, remember. One would think when Yahuwah says, remember, that everyone would listen up and understand this is something he knows. We have forgotten and will forget, and those both are true. In the time of Moses, they had lost his ways, and that is not new, but the pattern of man we'll identify in the next video very well, because the book of Jubilees lays out the whole progression, and you can see it for yourself. It's right there. So you can see it all the way back to Adam. Yes, all the way back. It's right there. As well as, so is the Sabbath in Scripture right there. We'll show you. Now, man keeps forgetting his law. This is the way of man. It just is. This is from the heavenly tablets, the record kept in heaven from the beginning to keep the Sabbath. It's not new, which we'll show you. It is also the very foundation of the law of Noah, which we're going to cover in the next video. But let's get started here. Then in the book of Jubilees, 50, verse 6, Yahuwah, this is the end of Jubilees, by the way, which starts with Sabbaths and ends with Sabbaths. That's the book of Jubilees. No wonder they censored it. So, book of Jubilees, Yahuwah points directly to his Sabbath. And behold, the commandment regarding the Sabbaths. I have written them down for you and all the judgments of its laws. So he even specifically points out the Sabbath law and judgments which I wrote with my own finger. Wow. Well, he knew we would forget, which is why he said, remember. Here's the big question. You will see this in scholarship debated, but what you will rarely see in scholarship on this topic is someone who's actually done their homework on this topic. Mainly because they don't read the book of Jubilees for one, which is Scripture, we prove. See Testing the Book of Jubilees for that data. It's not enough to say the Bible does not use the words, Adam kept the Sabbath. Well, it doesn't say that in what we call the canon of Scripture today. It does actually say it in Jubilees, and we're going to show you, but we'll get there. Therefore, Adam did not keep the Sabbath because it does not say Adam kept the Sabbath. That's a standard that is applied in scholarship, and it's just ignorance. That's it. That's the worst kind of ignorance. It's Pharisee leaven because it is dismissive, full of ridicule and unbelief, not scholarship, and it's deception. That's what it is. Now, we're proving that, so we're not saying something we can't say. We don't dismiss Yahuwah's ways, especially his saying, these are my ways. I set this day apart for you to rest. The very day after Adam was created, that he created for Adam, man. But Yahuwah was negligent in telling Adam so, because the words, Adam kept the Sabbath, are not in the passage, right? I mean, that's their conclusion. Yahuwah just forgot himself, I guess. He was keeping it. Adam was in his presence, but Adam just never noticed. He showed Adam by his own example. He didn't need to say it. It doesn't need to say Adam kept the Sabbath. Adam was there during Yahuwah's keeping the Sabbath. Period. Done. The end. Adam was righteous. Therefore, he followed the example. See, a good father would, and we are to believe Adam had no idea what was going on. Adam was smart. Adam was far smarter than we can ever imagine. Now, it's called a false paradigm. That's all it is, as it requires one to believe Adam did not have relationship with Yahuwah. That's really what they're saying. Even in the Garden of Eden, of all places. Now, that is totally against Scripture and a foolish mindset, not scholarship. Yes, I am direct for a reason. Go read how the prophets relate this kind of rebuke to scholars. Go read how Messiah talked to the Pharisees. And yes, this is purposeful, and this is exactly what I intend to do. And all of us do. In fact, the guys push me to be even more so. Now, they must be rebuked with the same measure that they've deceived and screwed up the word. That's not a small thing. And this is not a small measure. Frankly, Yahuwah thought us smarter than that really. And many of us are awakening to this. Hey, we used to defend our right to not keep the Sabbath too. Yeah, I did that. I think we all did. We have all been programmed down that road at one point or another. This is not about condemnation. But we are here to learn and apply. Or we just aren't. Let's go back to the beginning and prove this out and see what Scripture tells us, because it is so clear on this. And on the seventh day, God, Yahuwah, ended his work which he had made, and he rested, Shabbat, Sabbath, on the seventh day from all his work which he had made. Does it say he rested, but all of his creation ignored him, especially Adam, the day after he was created? Really? Adam was called righteous. How can he be right and already not follow the pattern of Yahuwah's ways from his second day? Really? He was then taken sinless and perfect into the Garden of Eden, where he remained so until the fall. However, how can he be perfect and righteous, already violating the holy day which Yahuwah set apart right here on day 7? Now, again, we're going to point this out much clearer, just setting a little foundation here. It does not work like that. And the severity of lawlessness in the church, especially among most scholars, is very profound. Sad, but true, unfortunately. This is why we need to prove all things for ourselves, because a scholar who does not even recognize Adam's righteousness has already failed by Genesis 1 under their paradigm, thus has very little to say about the rest of the word that has any value as far as we're concerned. Foundation matters, and creation is the foundation of his entire word. As Yahusha was there participating in creation, as he even remains Lord of the Sabbath, and he is the Word. But why not ignore that and call that scholarly? No, enough of that nonsense. It's time to learn, so let's get to it. And God blessed the seventh day and sanctified it, because that in it he had rested, Sabbath, Shabbat, from all his work which God created and made. So he basically, essentially affirms right there in those two verses the same thing. Who did he sanctify the Sabbath for? I mean, why would he even need to sanctify it for himself? Is he not already holy and sanctified? All he is, every fiber of his being is holy and sanctified. That is not even a thought. Therefore, that question needs to be answered. The fact that many scholars can't get this means they just don't understand the very nature of Yahuwah. This is, as I said, profound, very deep. And he, Messiah, said unto them, the Sabbath was made for man. Stop. Was Adam a man? In fact, was Adam not man? First man? Of course he was. Was the Sabbath not made for him too? Of course it was. See, this doctrine of, now God sanctified it, but then hid it in secret, practicing his holy day in secret, hidden from man, really is utterly ridiculous. Now, there's some scriptures are taking out of context to try to get there, even from Jubilees. We're going to deal with those in this video, or in the next one especially. This day was made for man, all man. And we'll show you. And not man for the Sabbath. See, Messiah is dealing with this exact attack from scholarship 2,000 years ago because he knew we were going to be dealing with this in this day. Why? It is the same Pharisee leaven peddled back then and now prevalent as church doctrine. Ouch. But true. Unfortunately, this is true. Therefore, the Son of Man is Lord also of the Sabbath. So he made Sabbath for Adam, man, but forgot to tell him, and then he forgot to tell him, make me your Lord, but I'm not going to tell you about the day in which I am Lord of, in importance. La, 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 la. Put your fingers in your ears, Adam. I'm not going to tell you about this day made for you in which I am Lord over, because that is how Yahuwah operates. Never. You know what this is in doctrine. It's called Kabbalah. Yes. It is a Jewish fable, belief, that Yahuwah hides things, creating secret doctrines that only the elite are allowed to know. Now, what has he hidden? He's hidden his holy angels. They are secret. Have you seen an angel? Very few people have, if any. It is the same, or at least in modern times, it is the same New World Order mentality of the beast system. And satanic in origin, really. Sorry, but this is the truth. And that's what we're going to tell you. All the way back to the Garden of Eden, where Satan was dispensing his deception of his secret doctrine when he accuses Yahuwah of not telling the full story about the fruit of the tree of knowledge. That's what he hit Eve with. That is where this secret doctrine mentality originates, not the Bible. And with it, when you apply it the way that they do, you can then change the Bible. You can change any scripture to say whatever you want, because there's secret doctrine that somehow only you know, because you are nobody. That is where this comes from. Creation is not secret doctrine. Yes, there are some things that do end up being hidden and then re-released. It happens, but not creation. It never says it's a secret, but the story of creation was somehow known by Enoch. It was known by Noah, Abraham, and all the patriarchs. They all knew the story, yet supposedly none of them knew that Yahuwah set aside the seventh day and made it holy, except they did know, and we will show you. Even Moses says he gave man the Sabbath. So he's admitting full well he knew this same concept, that it was not new at Sinai. Moses is saying that as well. Now think about the Garden of Eden for a moment. Adam entered and lived there until he sinned. This means he was perfect, sinless, or the definition of sin, which is lawlessness or breaking of the law. What law? Mankind was like the wild, wild west until Moses, according to scholars, and that is ignorance. Really? No one can be called righteous without right by which to judge righteousness. That requires law of some sort. What law does the Bible say was in place at the time of Adam, when he was taken into the Garden of Eden, thus judged righteous in order to enter, because it's incorruptible? For one, that would be the seventh day, which was sanctified, set apart, and holy. That law is right there in the creation narrative. Therefore, for Adam to be righteous, he must have kept the law before him, which means the Sabbath for one. Now, there is no reconciling this any other way. And again, we're just using logic here, but we're going to go and show you more scriptures, so don't worry, we're going to get there. But you'd have to completely abandon logic otherwise. We submit to you, if Adam broke the Sabbath in the Garden of Eden, he was no longer righteous, and he sinned the first time he did that. What do we know about sin in the garden? What is the penalty? Exile. There could be none, as the garden was incorruptible, and to sin meant you get kicked out. Period. Corruptible sin and incorruptible do not mix. Adam cannot be righteous and perfect without keeping the Sabbath, period. And there really is no debating that. But again, I'm just getting started, so hang in there. In fact, let's fast forward all the way to Revelation and notice how the Bible is consistent through and through. Now, we have a whole video coming up on this, so we're going to cover much more on the Sabbath in the end times. Yes, I said that because that will be the case. This is chapter 22. Blessed are they that do his commandments. What commandments? You mean the 2 commandments of Messiah? Well, they cannot be kept if you break any of the 10 commandments of Moses. Impossible. Can't be done. Therefore, they're still the same 10 commandments. That they may have right to the tree of life. See, we're going back to Adam here now because this is an Adam concept. This is a Garden of Eden concept. The tree of life is where? It's in the midst of the Garden of Eden. When Adam was exiled, the angels were placed at the entrance to the garden to do what? Guard the way of the tree of life. Keep reading. And may enter in through the gates into the city. Now, how is it that we keep forgetting so much? The tree of life is not some Kabbalistic concept in another dimension. Not in Scripture. Never, ever, ever does it say that. It's in the midst of the Garden of Eden, and again, incorruptible. The garden's incorruptible. No sin can be found there. No sin can stay there. It must be exiled if it occurs. That's why Adam had to leave. Adam ate of the tree of life when he was in the Garden of Eden. We know this because when Yahuwah warned Yahusha, what if Adam was to now eat of the tree of life in this state of sin he's now in? Well, he says it would be a disaster. In other words, he was already eating of the tree of life until that point, which was fine because he was perfect, but no longer. Therefore, he could no longer eat of it. This right to the tree of life will be restored after the day of judgment when the world is purified of sin and incorruptible again. Now, some worry about pending disaster in the Great Tribulation, for instance. But read the rest of the story. That's meaningless, insignificant, and a very, very short time in the scheme of things. You can debate who's going to be here, who's not, when the rapture happens, all of those things until you're blue in the face, and none of it means anything. The point is, it is so minute in the scheme of the big picture, and it is not the end of the story. If a sinless Adam ate of the tree of life, he kept the Sabbath and the law. If you and I can be restored to such right, we will too. We have a whole video coming up on that. Don't worry, Sabbath in the end times is coming and beyond. Now, it is right there in Scripture and really hard to miss. Let's jump back to Moses for a moment, and then we're going to go chronologically through Adam's generations and show you The Sabbath was kept long before Moses and part of the law even prior. Exodus 20, the Ten Commandments of Scripture. There it is, right here. Moses identifies that the Sabbath originated at creation and not on Mount Sinai. That's what he's saying here. Read it. For in 6 days the Lord made heaven and earth, the sea and all that in them is, and rested the seventh day. Wherefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and hallowed it. Wait, read the rest. Does it say, but hid it from Adam and kept it a secret for us until now? Of course not. Moses did not say that. If Yahuwah hallowed that day, it's hallowed, and hallowed for all. In fact, we'll show you scripture that says for all time, but we'll get there. Yes, some, really most, choose not to follow his ways. But let's not pretend the church generally represents anything different when they abandon this day he hallowed from the beginning. Moses does not say this is a new practice in his day, which just started. He does not say that, and neither does Scripture ever. In fact, he says what? Remember the Sabbath. We love Jubilees because we have tested it, and it proves as Torah, Scripture, and inspired. It does. Watch Testing the Book of Jubilees if you have not. We are not going to debate Jubilees in comments with those who have never tested it nor watched our testing of it. We use it because we've tested it and it vets. Now, and the angel of the presence spoke to Moses according to the word of the Lord Yahuwah, saying, write the complete history of the creation, how in 6 days the Lord Yahuwah Almighty finished all his work and all that he created, and kept Sabbath on the seventh day, and hallowed it for all ages. Did you just read that? And appointed it as a sign for all his works. You mean to tell me Sabbath is the sign of creation? Wow, did Peter have it right when he said that creation was going to come under attack because the Sabbath is under attack? Everybody know what all ages means? Come on, we all know that. No wonder the Pharisees had to get rid of this book because John the Baptist's Bible is just too good. We have seen scripture that says this is a sign. We covered that before in the previous video. A sign between him and us. He appointed the Sabbath as a sign for all his works. All. So Sabbath is the sign of all his works, of all of creation. Wow. Do you get that? Do you understand how significant that is? All of creation is symbolized and wrapped up in the keeping of his seventh day Sabbath rest. And for how long? For all ages. Is Adam within all ages? You know he is. What about the end times believers? Yep, them too, and we're going to cover that. How about those with Messiah in New Jerusalem, even after that? They will still be keeping his Sabbath and his law, which we showed you. Even Moses says this is forever in your generations, for a perpetual and lasting covenant forever. Those words are pretty clear, aren't they? Did we really forget the definition of forever and all? Come on, we all know this. The church generally certainly has forgotten it or is overlooking those words to inject the doctrine of men on this topic for sure. Frankly, we have already proven this, but wait till you see the firm evidence of this in the next video as well, because it is amazing. Now, there is not one scholar who can debate against this, and we challenge any of them, bring it. Their paper arguments are gone, and by the end of this series, done with. and there will be no arguments left. We will dismantle every one and are well on our way already. Also, a reminder. They use that last scripture in Jubilees to say it cannot be scripture because, well, Genesis does not say an angel wrote part of Genesis. Well, Genesis doesn't. That's admitted. Agreed. However, look at what we have here. Someone forgot to tell Luke that that wasn't in Genesis. Why? Because he's reading Jubilees. Here we have the writings of Moses were received by the disposition of angels. Meaning, he's affirming the book of Jubilees and that whole doctrine. So it is not new, and it is affirmed in Scripture, and it is accurate, because Moses couldn't write the first 10 or 12 verse or chapters of Genesis, not by memory or even current history, because he wouldn't have access to that. Only Yahuwah could have shown him, and certainly he could have done that, but instead Yahuwah brought in an angel, the angel of the presence, who keeps Scripture in heaven, the heavenly tablets, who then took the heavenly tablets and copied that information onto what we see today as Genesis 1 through maybe 12, at least 10. So it's so clear when you really look at Scripture with a full context, no doubt. This is why Yahuwah said, remember the Sabbath, because it was lost and forgotten, not because it was ever unhallowed. He never unhallowed it. That didn't happen. You won't find that in Scripture anywhere. Is that even a word, by the way? In fact, the bigger question is that even a biblical concept? Does he then hallow something and then unhallow it? Does he make something holy and then make it unholy himself? Of course not. He does not operate that way. Does he sanctify something at creation only to remove it and then bring it back only to remove it again and then again and again? No. No. Man abandoned it. Yes, that's fact, and we'll show you Scripture that shows that he did. But it has always been holy. Now, I'm getting whiplash just thinking about all the jerking around that kind of thinking generates. It's unnecessary, unwarranted mental gymnastics, really. And it clouds Scripture. What about heaven? Did they keep the Sabbath in heaven? Do they still? Will they in the future? Does it even matter? Yeah, this Jubilees book has got to go because the Pharisees cannot profane the Sabbath with it in place, that's for sure. It begins talking about the Sabbath and feasts and ends on the same note because they matter. And this is the book of Sabbaths, Jubilees, dates, chronologies, and details, directions, divisions. Got to take all those details away from people. Can't have them knowing what Genesis really means and says, can we? It's pretty bad. They couldn't even leaven this book. They had to censor this one, and they still do. And he gave us a great sign, the Sabbath day, that we, now who's we? Everyone, should work 6 days, but keep Sabbath on the seventh day from all work. This is Jubilees chapter 2, the beginning from creation. And all the angel of the presence and all the angel of sanctification, these two great classes, he has bidden us to keep the Sabbath with him in heaven and on earth. So it's kept in heaven and on earth. And we're going to show you later, there's more Scripture that expounds on this. So, the true Bible, which it would include part of the Torah that's missing right now, called the Book of Jubilees, has said all along, right here, the Sabbath is for everyone, including all in heaven and on earth. Shh, except Adam, of course. Nobody tell him. It's a secret. Sound ridiculous? That's because it is. Adam kept the Sabbath from the beginning, and even heaven kept and still keeps the Sabbath, period. That Jubilees, it just doesn't stop. Sabbath, 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 that's got to go. But this one also gets twisted, and we're going to cover it later in the next video, which these are going to be uploaded together pretty much. And they shall not bring in nor take out from house to house on that day. For that day is more holy and blessed than any Jubilee day of the Jubilees. On this we, who's we? This is the angel of the presence of Yahuwah writing here, even according to Luke. Keep the Sabbath in the heavens, before it was made known to any flesh to keep Sabbath thereon on the earth. Yeah, we just read Jubilees says he hallowed the Sabbath for all ages. And we're going to show you other scripture that says it's for everyone. And Exodus 20 says the same, actually. So what gives here? Is this a conflict? Not at all. First, this Hebrew word made known has tons of definitions, and Nehemiah uses it too in the context of the Sabbath. So we're going to cover Nehemiah, and we're going to cover this together. We'll get there. Now, it does not appear that way in Exodus, though. Might we have another scripture, even in the Old Testament, that actually derives from the book of Jubilees, in fact? It appears so. That would also mean Jubilees was written before Nehemiah. How about that? Now, we'll deal with this one head on in the next video, and we're going to give it a little time. So wait for that, and we'll get back to it. There's no conflict here. You'll see, and you will find this does not say the Sabbath was hidden until Moses. Not at all. That is nonsense. But just that man followed after heaven. Heaven first, then man. That's all. There is no placing Adam in the Garden of Eden without his keeping the Sabbath law from heaven, period. Because that's the holy of holies of Yahuwah on earth. Can't be done. The point of this segment, though, is the Sabbath has been kept in heaven since the beginning and is not new. And this certainly says so. We'll get to the rest. Don't worry. Again, remember the Sabbath. Don't forget it. Recall the practice of old that was forgotten by your forefathers. We're going to frame that in the next video extremely well, because Jubilees does. What about Enoch? Oh, now he is the key to the whole formula. See, Enoch's a different story here. Enoch lived before the flood, the seventh from Adam, but he did not die, thus experienced the flood, lived after the flood, and is still alive to this day. Where is he? He's in the Garden of Eden to this day, according to Jubilees. Enoch is known as the great scribe, with writings for every day of the year, for instance. He also set forth the biblical calendar, which is based on Sabbaths, by the way. Not just the seventh day, but the seventh year, a year of rest. And the Jubilee year, which is the seventh, basically a series of 7 years, 7 series of 7 years, 49 years, and then you celebrate the 50th. However, Enoch visited heaven, and we're going to cover those, by the way, those two concepts in the end of this whole series as well. However, Enoch visited heaven and learned the ways of Yahuwah even in heaven, and recorded them before the flood from the heavenly tablets, which he saw and says he saw. No one knew this, in fact, but here's the big thing. Enoch lived in the days of Adam, the days of Noah, the days of Abraham, the days of Moses, the days of Messiah, and still today. So every one of these new covenants all apply to him, which is kind of weird. Are we supposed to believe he has changed with the laws and the times each time? Is Yahuwah really inconsistent as such, or Does he in fact change not, as Scripture says? Is Yahusha also flighty, or is the Bible accurate when it says he is the same yesterday at creation? Yes, he was there, according to John 1, today and forever. Did Enoch know about the Sabbath? Let's see. Also, the third most numerous found scroll in the Dead Sea Scrolls, and quoted by Jude in large portion, among others. In fact, an entire full Aramaic edition of the Book of Enoch was found in the Dead Sea Scrolls, immediately whisked away to a private collector and not available to the public, even though it was even scanned according to one of the doctors. But where is that now? Don't know. We haven't seen it. Anyway, Enoch was aware of the Sabbath according to his own writing. It was not hidden nor secret. And now all the righteous will be humble and will live until they beget thousands. And all the days of their youth and their Sabbaths they will fulfill in peace or rest. He's talking about a Sabbath rest. Enoch kept the Sabbath as a part of the same law of creation. But let's take this even further. Not only Enoch, and this will reaffirm that, but Methuselah and Lamech, the father of Noah, kept the Sabbath and were aware of it. Talking to Methuselah, Enoch says, "And behold, they commit sin and transgress the law." What law? This is before the flood, the law of creation, or you could say of Adam if you wish. Haven't you ever wondered how Adam knew to sacrifice? I mean, where did that come from? Yet he knew, he did it. What about Abel? And even Cain, though he did it wrong and with the wrong heart, of course. But how did they know to do this? And then Enoch sacrificed, Noah, Abraham. How did they know to sacrifice? And when did they do it? They did it on the Sabbath and the feast days. Now we're going to cover the feast in more detail in the feast series, which is coming soon. We wanted to get the Sabbath well laid down in foundation first. We just felt that more important for right now, especially under the circumstances. Well, the Sabbath and the feasts are the core of the biblical calendar and of the entire Bible. They were on the same biblical calendar, by the way, all along. The law of creation includes the sanctified Sabbath. "For I know the mysteries of the holy ones, for the Lord Yahuwah showed them to me and made them known to me. And I read them in the tablets of heaven." The heavenly tablets that the book of Jubilees is talking about were reviewed by Enoch, and he copied their tenets, such as the Sabbath, which we know was kept in heaven from the beginning. So even if you try to make a case that Adam didn't keep the Sabbath, okay, fine. That's all right, because we don't need Adam to keep the Sabbath in order to go where we're going here, although he did. But Enoch most definitely, indisputably, kept the Sabbath. Now we saw earlier heaven kept the Sabbath from the beginning, so there's no debating that. Enoch says he was shown the mysteries of heaven as written on the heavenly tablets. These are the same tablets represented in the writings of the angel of the presence in Genesis 1 through 10 especially, or so before the time of Moses, and also part of the book of Jubilees. The angels kept the Sabbath in heaven and on earth, and so did Enoch. This was not a secret, at least by the time of Enoch. That one, no one can argue with. So really, even if someone wants to do that and try to discount Adam, oh well, whatever. But you can't discount Enoch, can't do it. Therefore, whether one believes Adam kept it or not, and we do believe that he did, Enoch was keeping the Sabbath before the flood, and so was Methuselah, who's being addressed here, and Noah's father Lamech as well, as they followed Enoch's writings and instruction, as did Noah. Now, don't confuse this first book of Enoch, by the way. I just want to mention this. Some people do get confused. There's a first book of Enoch 1. And then there are Gnostic, occult writings, Book of Enoch 2, 3, and so on. Those are not scripture. They were not found in the Dead Sea Scrolls. This one was. This one is approved by John the Baptist and the sons of Zadok, the priests of Aaron, the Levites, who were in Qumran, Bethabara. So, now, just a little extra mention, and I'm not even going to show it on screen, but even the second book of Enoch also mentions the Sabbath, by the way. So we're not citing it, though, because it's not scripture, and certainly we don't even need it. Again, this is why Moses was told to remember the Sabbath, that your forefathers kept, and then generations forgot. Now we're going to show you that whole progression is right there in Scripture. It's there. It's on record even. You'll see that in the next video. But remember, we're going to break here, and the next video continuation is already uploading. We will bring this home very firmly, but already we can see that really Adam certainly appears to have kept the Sabbath, especially in the Garden of Eden. Heaven kept the Sabbath firmly since the beginning, and even man on earth. This is for all, in all generations. There is no confusion and misinterpretation of this based on a passage or a fragment out of context, misunderstood. That is pretty much all you're going to see with all of these paper arguments, and we'll deal with them all throughout this, at least every that we can find. The Sabbath is forever, and a creation concept, not one beginning with Moses. Enoch firmly kept the Sabbath and passed it to Methuselah and Lamech and Noah, which we're going to see very firmly in the next video. Most certainly. And you'll see Noah definitely kept the Sabbath. We will cover the law of Noah, in fact, in the next video, which includes the 10 Commandments. And this is good. Thank you for watching our Sabbath series. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Don't forget to click the bell. Like us on Facebook at The God Culture, _space original. Share this video with others, and check out our website at thegodculture.com. Always remember to prove all things for yourself. Yah bless all.